no secret that new space opera prequel Solo, a Star Wars story could be in line for some sequels, with many of the main actors, including Alden Ehrenreich, who plays Han, and Emilia Clarke, who plays love interest Kyra, already contracted for multiple movies. Of course, contracts don't always translate to future films. The cast of Rogue One, a Star Wars story, had a similar deal before all their characters were summarily killed off at the end of that movie, and if Solo doesn't turn out to be a financial success, it's unlikely Lucasfilm would keep pumping out sequels. Still, without giving too much away, Solo does do a bit more than Rogue One to set up further adventures and teasing new alliances for our heroes as they revisit familiar locations and characters. So when we caught up with the cast and crew, we had to ask, what would they like to see in a sequel? Harrison Ford is digitally inserted into the new Han Solo trailer. Harrison Ford Gate crashed. Alden Ehrenreich Star Wars interview. RadioTimes.com newsletter. Get the latest TV and entertainment news direct to your inbox. I just think that kind of the adventure story of it all, the kind of Indiana Jones mold of not so much one whole long story that extends over 3 things, but different serial chapters of his adventure stories, seems like what it wants to be. Alden Ehrenreich told RadioTimes.com, suggesting that any future Solo movies would have their own standalone stories rather than the serialized style of the main saga. Although I'm not in charge of that, of course. And then just developing these relationships with Lando and Chewie, and everybody else. And Solo director Ron Howard agreed that Indiana Jones wasn't a bad example for what to expect from the style of Han Solo films in general. Indiana Jones is kind of a version of an awkward, yet adorable and ultimately effective hero, who gets himself in and out of scrapes, he said. And it's a singular adventure story. And this is a singular adventure story, unlike the other movies which have been war stories, and these sort of epic, family dramas. Meanwhile, Emilia Clarke was more specifically interested what was next for her character Kyra, who the film hints could continue to play a significant role in future installments. I think that we've left it in a place that has got plenty of room to discover another part of her, Clarke told RadioTimes.com. And to maybe delve deeper into the mistakes she makes, when she makes them. Overall, then, there's plenty to explore in a sequel, though Howard was quick to point out that the film could just as easily stand on its own, with the film's ending obliquely tying to the original 1977 Star Wars film in a way that could just as easily cap off the adventures of young Han Solo right here. There's no intention of seeding sequels, he insisted. I think as it evolved, there are some threads that looked pretty promising and intriguing, you know. But it can also very easily end here and still set up a new hope. It's not manufacturing, he added. Outside of the saga movies, there is no intention about sequels. It's always a process of let's explore, and let's then understand what those movies mean to audiences. Though if audiences do turn out to love the adventures of a young Han Solo, Howard says he certainly won't be averse to stepping back in the Millennium Falcon's cockpit once again. I certainly had a lot of fun doing this, he told RadioTimes.com. It's a fascinating world. Any criminal corner of any nation, and certainly of this universe, is gonna be sort of ripe with possibilities and juicy stories. And I really do want to hear fans speak to how they feel about this movie in terms of its tone, which I had a lot of fun with, and really admired. But Star Wars movies are controversial. And I'll be curious to know. In other words, the future of Solo films is in the hands of you, the audience, so if you enjoy the film this weekend, be sure to show your appreciation. Solo, a Star Wars story is in UK cinemas from the 24th of May.